Ladies and gents, my name is Xander, aka Deislayers, and in this video, I've got my top 5 legendary pulse rifles for PvP throughout all of Destiny 2 in Year 1. As I'm sure that many of you are already aware, the Forsaken DLC is right around the corner, but before we get into that, we have August 28th coming up, and the reason why I mention that is because on that particular date, we had this brand spanking new TTK update that's going to revamp all the weapons throughout all of D2. The good news about this information is that all the pulse rifles that you guys are about to see are only going to get even more powerful, and so when the Forsaken DLC hits, these things are going to be annihilating, obliterating, and truly eradicating every guardian in their path. The only other thing that I want to mention here is that this particular list is only looking at legendary pulse rifles and legendary pulse rifles alone. You know just as well as I do that there are so many pulse rifles throughout this entire game, and so making this list was extremely difficult to do so because there are so many amazing ones that it's very difficult to just only pick 5. Nonetheless, here's my top 5 pulse rifle list, and so the only thing left to do is to eviscerate that subscribe button, and let's jump right into the video. Before I can even get into my top 5 list, I've got to acknowledge a couple of special mentions here, and that includes the Requiem 45 along with the Geon 7 pulse rifles. The main primary reason as to why the Requiem 45 makes this honorable mention list is because it's got Zen Moment and Accurized rounds, and so essentially what these two things do together is it makes the weapon's stability go through the roof, and on top of that, it's got a range perk to increase the weapon's overall damage output at longer distances. These two things combined is exactly what the pulse rifle needs, as it's then going to allow the weapon to get the optimal headshot TTK at 1.07 seconds on a much more frequent basis. Not just this, but the Requiem 45 has the fastest rate of fire arc-type pulse rifle throughout this entire game at 540 rounds per minute. And with an aim assistance factor at 73 and a recoil direction at 55, you're going to be able to land a lot of critical headshots in correlation with Zen Moment to make sure that you're getting that optimal headshot TTK almost every single time. As far as the Geon 7 goes, it's actually got a couple of the exact same traits that the Requiem 45 does, and that includes the weapon's optimal headshot TTK at 1.07 seconds, as well as having an identical perk, and that is called Zen Moment. As far as the weapon's other perk goes, that is Ricochet rounds, and so many of you already know that Ricochet rounds has a hidden range factor to it, which is going to give the weapon a plus 15 to plus 20 range benefit, which is truly astounding because this weapon already has a base range stat at 47 out of 100, making this weapon's effective range go from not just mid to cross map distances, and for that alone, it easily makes this honorable mention list. The only other thing that I gotta say about the Geon 7 pulse rifle is that this beauty right here has a recoil direction at 80 out of 100, an aim assistance at 64, and a stability at 50. And with all three of these things combined, the weapon's shot rhythm is so unbelievably gorgeous and fantastic that it almost allows you to hit headshots 24/7, making this easily worth an honorable mention. Appearing in the number 5 spot is a long-forgotten pulse rifle that has been here since the original days of Destiny 2, and this Vanguard monstrosity is called the Nightshade. The reason why I say that the Nightshade is a long-forgotten beauty is because, in all honesty, I never see this thing being used in the Crucible anymore, and I don't understand why, because this monstrosity has kill clip, and as you all know, as soon as you happen to get one kill and then reload, you're then going to get an increase in damage output, and that's exactly where a kill clip is going to shine. In terms of the weapon's base optimal headshot TTK, it's going to be at exactly 1.2 seconds. But as soon as you happen to get a kill clip procced, it's then going to go up to 0.87 seconds. But it gets even better, and that's because as soon as you happen to have a Guardian that's at 5 resilience or less, this optimal headshot TTK is going to decrease even further when a kill clip is procced to be at exactly 0.8 seconds. Very few Guardians ever run a resilience factor that is higher than 5, and so the majority of the time, you're going to already get this optimal headshot TTK when kill clip is active at 0.8 seconds. And the best part about this Nightshade is that it's already got an insane reload stat at 62 out of 100, allowing you to proc kill clip very frequently. On top of that, the weapon's got some other incredible base stats, including the weapon's stability at 59 out of 100, a great aim assistance at 68 out of 100, and a recoil direction at 56. And once again, all three of these things combined are going to allow the weapon to have a beautiful shot rhythm, which is then going to allow you to proc kill clip and down guardians extremely fast, making them say, "What the heck did I just get killed by?" Arriving in the number 4 spot is a pulse rifle from the original Season 1 of Iron Banner, and it's called the Claymore Inspire. The marvelous thing about the Claymore Inspire is that this thing right here has a rate of fire at 540 rounds per minute. And so the important thing about this is that this kind of rate of fire allows you to miss many shots, but at the exact same time, still get very close to the weapon's optimal headshot TTK at 1.07 seconds. To help you achieve the weapon's optimal TTK much more frequently is a perk called Zen Moment, because as soon as you happen to get damage in a guardian, the weapon's stability goes through the roof, and that then in turn is going to allow you to hit many more headshots, and I can tell you from personal experience that these guardians just get melted like they're an ice cube in a bowl of soup. The key ingredient into what allows the Claymore Inspire to do this is what I believe is the sight, and that particular sight is called the Hitmark IS sight. The excellent thing about this particular sight is that not only does it slightly increase the range, but you have the best peripheral vision that you could possibly ask for, and so you can spin left or right or go up and down extremely fast, all while aiming down your sights, and once again, that's then going to allow you to not just get 1v2s, but possibly 1v3 engagements completely obliterated, and poof, just like that, they're gone. Adios, bye bye. This Claymore Inspire also has some amazing base stats, and that includes the weapon's stability at 54 out of 100, its aim assistance at 79 out of 100, and a recoil direction at 60. And just like all the others, that then is then going to in turn a fantastic shot rhythm, allowing you to get plenty of headshots and thus achieve the weapon's optimal headshot TTK. The only other thing that I want to mention here is that many of you are probably already wondering, well, what about the Autumn Wind? And to you, I say this, and that the Autumn Wind and the Claymore Inspire are almost the exact same gun, not just in terms of their base stats, because their base stats only differ by 5 on every single category, but their perks are once again almost the exact same thing, and the only difference is that the Claymore Inspire has Zen Moment, while the Autumn Wind has Under Pressure. If you were to ask me, Zen Moment is by all means the most superior perk here, and that's because it allows you to increase the weapon's stability as soon as you cause damage, which can be done from that very first bullet. On the other hand, Under Pressure only does this in the bottom half of the magazine, and thus, with Zen Moment on the Claymore Inspire, it easily makes this number 4 spot. Inserting itself in the number 3 spot is a weapon that I truly do believe is the best out of all the Trials of the 9 weapons, and that sleek, elegant machine is called the Darkest Before. Just like its name suggests, you're going to have a Darkest Before moment because you're going to die just that fast. Not only does this thing have an optimal headshot TTK at 1.07 seconds, but just like the Claymore Inspire, it's also got a rate of fire at 540 rounds per minute, allowing this thing to be very, very lenient, so just in case you happen to get headshots or body shots, you're still going to down guardians unbelievably fast. In association with the weapon's rate of fire, this particular weapon has a wonderful perk that allows it to be fired in full auto, and that perk is called Full Auto Trigger System. Essentially what that means is that all you gotta do is hold on the trigger and easy mode is engaged, and you can kiss the enemy guardians bye-bye and into the Underrealm to be greeted by Osiris. Another one of my favorite things about the Darkest Before is that it's got 2 other very powerful perks, and those perks are called Quick Draw, allowing the weapon to be drawn unbelievably fast, but in correlation with that is Arrowhead Break, and I personally believe that Arrowhead Break is by all means the most underrated perk on this entire weapon, and that's because Arrowhead Break allows the weapon's base recoil direction to go up by a marginal amount of anywhere from 20 to 30 points. The Darkest Before already has an absolutely superb recoil direction at 70 out of 100, and with Arrowhead Break, that's going to make that stat skyrocket to the roof, allowing you to have that excellent vertical recoil direction, thus implying that you're going to get many more headshots. In correspondence to that, this Darkest Before already has a truly spectacular aim assistance at 75 out of 100, and so getting those headshots is going to be no problem whatsoever. But what is ultimately the surprising factor on this Darkest Before is that it's got one of the best base range stats out of any other pulse rifle in this entire game, especially for one that's in a 540 rate of fire, and that range factor is at 41 out of 100. By taking a look at this weapon in its entirety, I can hands down say that this weapon right here is not only the most lenient, but one of the most lethal weapons in this entire game, and that is true regardless of whether or not you have the light or the darkness. Making itself known in the number 2 spot is an infamous pulse rifle that hits like the Hulkbuster Iron Man armor, and it's called the Rebrix's Claymore. There is no doubt in my mind that every single one of you Guardians out there knows exactly what this weapon is, and that's because it is one of the most difficult weapons to get out of this entire game. But the good news for all of you is that when the Forsaken DLC hits, you're going to be able to get another version of this weapon, and it's called the Rebrix's Broadsword, which is pretty much going to be the exact same thing of this weapon, and the way in which you get it is through a quest line. Now don't get me wrong, that quest line is going to be extremely long and strenuous, but will it be worth it? And the answer is a resounding 110% yes. The reason as to why that is because this pulse rifle has Outlaw and Desperado, which have probably one of the best symbiotic relationships out of any other 2 perks throughout this entire game. For those of you that don't know, Outlaw is going to give you an incredible reload speed that is almost instantaneous as soon as you happen to get a precision kill. As soon as you do so, you're then going to proc Desperado, and essentially what Desperado does is that it increases the weapon's rate of fire from 340 rounds per minute to 600 rounds per minute, which makes it the fastest firing rate out of any other pulse rifle that Bungie has ever created, period. Knowing that, I'm not going to lie to you, and that is that in order to get that first kill, it's actually quite difficult to do so, because a rate of fire at 340 rounds per minute is not that fast. And so you've got to be able to land your headshots, because if you don't, then you're never ever going to be able to proc Outlaw, and thus never proc Desperado, making this thing just mediocre at best. However, as soon as you do happen to proc Desperado, then I personally believe that this thing becomes one of the best, if not the best weapon in the entire game, because the weapon's TTK when Desperado is active is at 0.6 seconds, and that right there is easily going to obliterate Guardians. However, if you're only going to get body shots, then the weapon's optimal TTK goes up drastically, almost to 2.0 seconds on the dot. And so that's why I say that this thing is a double-edged sword, because you've got to be able to land those critical headshots in order to not just proc Desperado, but to get this insane 0.6 second TTK associated with it. In terms of the weapon's base stats, it's got one of the best range stats at 60 out of 100 and a marvelous recoil direction at 75, but its aim assistance is a little bit lacking at 39. Despite this, I would highly recommend that you guys put the pedal to the metal and grind for this beauty as soon as it happens to hit within the Forsaken DLC via the Rebrix's Broadsword questline, and that's because this thing is only going to get even more of a buff when the Forsaken DLC hits. And so the only thing left to say is that this Rebrix's Claymore / Rebrix's Broadsword is definitely going to make the enemy team a little bit salty. Lastly, we've come to our number 1 spot and the weapon that you've all been finally waiting for, and it's called the Inaugural Address. Just like President Abraham Lincoln did with the Gettysburg Address, this Inaugural Address is going to stun you Guardians, and that's because this thing right here has another marvelous symbiotic relationship between its perks, and those 2 perks are called Outlaw and Kill Clip. From the Rebrix's Claymore and the Nightshade, you guys already know exactly what Outlaw and Kill Clip do, but when they're combined together, oh my gosh, is this weapon combination of perks absolutely insane and out of this realm, because it makes it so unbelievably powerful that is the sole reason as to why it's in the number 1 spot. As a base optimal headshot TTK, the Inaugural Address is at 1.07 seconds on the dot. But as soon as you happen to proc Kill Clip, the weapon's then going to get an optimal headshot TTK at 0.93 seconds. And if you guys thought that was good, it's only going to get even better. For those of you Guardians who are only running a resilience of 3 or less, this weapon's optimal headshot TTK then becomes that of the Rebrix's Claymore when Desperado is active at 0.6 seconds. And so as you guys can see, that this thing is going to be superb, glorious, and spectacular in every way, shape, and form, regardless of whether or not you actually have Kill Clip active or you don't. Even if you don't happen to proc Outlaw and you still reload, you're still then going to proc kill clip, and ultimately what that means is that you still have the potential to not just get that TTK of 0.93 seconds, but for all guardians who are at 3 resilience or less, you still have the potential to get that TTK at 0.6 seconds. And because of this logic and reasoning, the Inaugural Address easily makes the #1 spot. Furthermore, the weapon already has some incredible base stats to correlate with this, and that includes the weapon's range factor at 49 out of 100, a stability factor at 60 out of 100, an aim assistance at 64, and a recoil direction at 79. Ultimately, what this implies is that these base stats are going to give the weapon one of the best shot rhythms that you could possibly ask for. And with the weapon's perks of Outlaw and Kill Clip combined, it's going to have the best chance of increasing your odds to win an engagement, not just for that first kill, but the second and third and so on and so forth, making this thing absolutely obliterate, annihilate, and decimate Guardians, and that I can guarantee. Ladies and gents, there you have it, and I hope you enjoyed my top 5 pulse rifle list throughout all of Destiny 2 in year 1. Throughout this entire list, we had weapons like the Geon 7, the Requiem 45, Nightshade, Claymore Inspire, Darkening Before, Redrix's Claymore, also known as the Redrix's Broadsword come the Forsaken DLC, and finally, the Inaugural Address. No matter which pulse rifle that you guys happen to prefer, I can guarantee you that all of these things are going to truly annihilate Guardians come the Forsaken DLC. And the reason why that is because all of them are going to get some kind of TTK increase, and you're going to be able to recognize that and see that come August 28th. Understanding that, I'm going to be very, very intrigued to hear all your guys' thoughts on this entire list, and which ones that you agree with or disagree with, and which pulse rifles that you would have liked to have seen this list as well. One thing's for sure, that I'm going to read all those comments, and I can't wait to see exactly what you guys gotta say. Lastly, go ahead and check out some of my other new videos, as you guys can see right there on the screen. If you happen to enjoy this one, then you're definitely going to enjoy those as well. That's pretty much all I've got for you as of right now, and so as always, Deislayers, great gaming, until next time.